To the Orthotech November webinar. In a minute, I'm going to take you for a little bit of a walk through our event space and show you our 3D printers, which are alongside our event space where we run our webinars, workshops. We run workshops for up to 35 people in this room. So if you want to do a one-on-one with us or a small team, or you want to book into one of our on-site workshops, feel free. Today, we're just going to go through how to use the Orthotech Mini scanner. So this is the Orthotech Mini. It's the 6th generation of this scanner that we started developing in 2004. So it's designed to replace the plaster casting process. You can hold the foot in subtalar joint neutral with 2 hands while you take a sub 1 millimeter accurate scan. It's probably one of the most popular scanners on the market. We've got more than 1,200 out there. Today we've got people in the webinar that are about to set up their scanner, and Michelle's going to go through how to do that for the first 5 minutes. We've got people that just want to know how to take a better scan and how to problem solve certain scenarios. So Michelle spends 5 to 10 minutes going through setting up the scanner and how to use our website to help you do that. Then I'm going to go through scanning in supine, scanning in prone, how to position the foot, the best angles for the scanners. And then if for those of you who are interested, we'll take you through the 3D print room and actually show you the 3D printers, which are both printing tonight. So I'm just going to do a quick walk around this room just to show you the event space that you guys are welcome to come and enjoy. So behind me here, behind these mirrors, we've got the 2 of the HP multi-jet fusion printers. So they're both on at the moment. They'll be printing till about 7 AM tomorrow morning. Through here, we've got some of our offices, my office, Michelle's office, and Laura's office over here. And then we've got Angela and Priscilla, who are upstairs and out the back as well. So I ran most of the webinar last time. So for those of you who want to see a different face, we're going to jump over to Michelle now, who's going to show you how to set up the scanner. And then I'll jump in and do some scanning for you.
Firstly, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Michelle and I'm the brand manager of Orthotech. I go through quite a lot of the educational side, setting up scanners as well in the customer service. So what I'm going to go through today is setting up the Orthotech 3D Mini. We have practically everything online. However, you can contact us at any time via email, mobile, or support just through here and booking here. And booking a time for us to help you set up your scanner. If you're needing to place the scanner on a different computer or update your software, you're able to do it through here by just pressing scanner setup, putting in your details and preferences. Here it just shows you how to download TeamViewer, which is what we use to log into your computer to set everything up for you and submit, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible with the time. So we go back to the education website, and as I said before, if you couldn't hear me, if you do need the password to that, just give me a buzz or an email and I'll be able to pass that on to you. Now, underneath scanners, Orthotech 3D Mini is this page here. It goes through software, hardware, scanning, and troubleshooting, which we'll go quickly through today. And again, we can go through this in more depth at a later stage. Software here is just showing the computer requirements for this scanner. So it is quite a small scanner. We place it on a tripod, which we'll show you when Kale does some scanning later, and 2 USB ports come out of that into your computer, so your PC or your desktop or laptop. Now, all we really require is a minimum resolution of 1360 by 768 and at least 3 USB ports. Now, connecting this, you are unable to use like a hub that is connected to the laptop or PC. It needs to be USB ports that are actually placed within that laptop and desktop computer. Now, going through to downloading software, this is a step-by-step, very straightforward. We do have videos on this as well. So it's just going through, logging in to get that software, clicking here, as you can see, to grab the software. So if you just go through here, and you can see under download software, we've got to click on Orthotech 3D install. which you'll see is coming up here. So as you can see there, so you could do a quick download of that. Then when you're waiting for that to find your mini calibration file, which is just here, mini calibration file. And on the back of your scanner, so as you can see here, will be a number that you just find that number within this area and download that. Now, as I've written, it is something that you cannot open. You cannot open that file because it is a calibration file. So it's just something we import later. When you download the software, you click finish, and then you go within the software to set up again, and you can see this is the information here that you need to fill out your serial number and clicking 3D Mini and then importing the calibration file. So it does mention quite a lot in here for you, so step by step. And then we've got updating software. So it is a very quick process, only 6 steps. Then connecting your scanner to your computer. So again, very similar to the what I just mentioned before in regards to setting up the calibration file and the serial number. But what we've got just down the bottom is talking about something that Cal's going to mention in a moment in regards to when you do connect the computer, the scanner, making sure that the scanner is the right way around and how we do fix those errors that can come up. And then we've also got here looking for a good scan, which Cal will go through as well. Our hardware, just showing you how to actually utilize the tripod. So when using the tripod, this video here comes in handy to make sure that it is sitting in the right position as well, which Cal will go through when we are actually doing the scans and actually placing the scanner on the tripod. So you can see in some of these videos, they do look a little bit bigger than this scanner because they are an older scanner called the Orthotech 3D Cube. This is the updated version. So very similar hardware and software, it's just a lot smaller. So some of the videos will showcase the Cube, but that's okay. It's exactly the same method as the Mini. And then we do have a foot switch that we're able to send you as well. This is how to set up the foot switch. So if you're wanting to utilize both hands holding the foot in neutral and you're wanting to then not use a time delay, which you can use, which Kay will also go through, we can send you a foot switch that you can place on the ground and help you take that scan if you just want to hold the foot in neutral with both hands. Scanning, something Kale's going to go through also live, so our different scanning methods, our prone and supine, but you can later go through this to have a look at step by step. And then also with the scanning sock. So we've got here our scanning sock and how to use the sock and how to place that on. We've also got an online ordering form for the scanning sock as well, which you just can click here or it's on your My Orthotech portal. And it goes through here as well, the different sizes. So we have 4 different sizes, as you can see. We've got an extra small, which is good for suits 18 months to 5 years. We have your small, which is around 5 to 12 years. And then medium, which suits your teenagers and most women. And then your large, which suits women with larger feet and most men as well. And then with troubleshooting, we'll go through that after Kale has done the scanning, but we've got a few different codes that can come up and we want to walk through the reason why those do come up and how to resolve that as well. But perfect, we'll go back to Kale and we'll do some scans. If there's any questions though, before we go on, please feel free to use the, I'm just going to get out of that. Feel free to use the Q&A or even the chat function. So we do have that open, that was placed in the email that we recently just sent out. So with the Q&A, you can ask any questions anonymously, so we can, hopefully we can get as much information as possible for there. So if there's any questions now that you would like me to answer, please go right ahead. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move on to Kale now with scanning, and then we'll be able to show you the difference of supine and prone as well.
Okay guys, so I'm just going to go through supine to start with. So first of all, Michelle, can you just zoom in on? Yes, we will log in and install for you. So some people, you know, like to do it themselves, and that's fine, but more than happy to log in. It's all part of the service. So the first thing in doing supine I want to talk about is just the angle of the camera. So I walk into a lot of clinics that have been using us for many years, and the camera's either up there or it's slightly angled back. It's important to have the camera angled back at roughly a 30-degree angle. And the reason that we want to do that is so that we can see posterior calc. Michelle, can you jump up here? So I'm going to use Michelle to scan. So for those of you who are new to the system, you do need to put this sock on. So there's been quite a few times where people have had trouble scanning and we log in and there's no sock on the foot. So you do need a sock. And the reason you need the sock is that 3D scan requires light, camera and a pattern. So laser scanners will project that pattern, but they need to be much bigger than the foot to wrap around the foot in order to project that laser. Having the sock on the foot enables that pattern to contour around the foot, and that enables us to have a much smaller scanner. So again, for those that are new, there's Orthotech on one side of the sock, and underneath that is a seam. The other side is seamless. So that needs to go on the dorsal side of the foot. We don't want to be scanning with a seam. So just put it on like a normal sock and just make sure it's contouring all surfaces. If you pull it too tight, you'll get a bowing between the metatarsal heads and the calcaneus. So just pull it back off a little bit and just make sure it's contouring the whole foot. This white line is really important. We don't want that past the met heads, and we don't want your thumb on it if you're loading the 4th and 5th. So it should be behind the 4th and 5th anyway. So now I'm going to share my screen just to show you what it should look like. Okay. Now, I've just plugged the scanner in now, and I've just randomly plugged it into any USB ports, and there you go, the foot's upside down. So you can either mark the USB leads or the ports, or you can use this little exchange two cameras button here. So if the foot's upside down, click on that. It'll take 3 or 4 seconds down here. It'll reset itself, and then the foot's the right way up. So don't scan with the foot upside down. It's not going to work. Now, we want to be taking out most of this red box. So there's a red box here that goes outside, and you can move it. So we've had people accidentally shrink it and then try and take a scan. Okay, you do need to have the red box taking up most of the window, and you want to be working as close as you can within that window. So you don't want to be all the way back here trying to take a scan. So there's no set distance. For a smaller foot, you're going to be closer. For a larger foot, you're going to be further away. We want to be taking up most of that red box. So you can see we're fairly close to the base with the calc, and we're fairly close to the top. And then bringing Michelle down a little bit. So we're taking up most of that window. Now, one of the errors people try and do is hit scan now. That's going to produce an error. You need to put a patient's name in there in order to take a scan. Otherwise, the prescription form won't be saved to anything. Down here, you've got a time delay. So if you're not using the foot switch and you need 2 hands, or you would like 2 hands, which for some patients you will need if they've got a strong forefoot supinatus and you want to hold the foot in neutral while you cancel that out, you can either use the time delay or the foot switch. And this is where this scanner has sort of a big advantage over scanners like the iPad scanner, which we also offer. The iPad scanner, you're too far away, you can't hold the foot in the correct position. So I'm going to take the time delay off for a sec and just hold the foot in neutral. Now you'll see that I've got my thumb up into the toes doing the suspension casting technique. And the reason we're doing that is so that the met heads are clear. And so we've got clean data through there. So if you can get used to the suspension casting technique, then we don't need to fill in any of the data. So you can see the red dot there in the heel. That means it's closest to the camera. And we've got a rough 30-degree angle. And that enables us to get nice, deep, posterior and lateral heel data. If you want to use the time delay, then you will have 5 seconds. So we can either go to the right, but I'm going to go back and do the left again. If you want to use the time delay, you won't have a live image for 5 seconds. So you need to get the foot into the correct position and then be comfortable during that 5 seconds that you're not going to move outside the red box. So if you move outside the red box, it's going to chop it off. So we'll do another one there. So just going back to looking at these scans, so if we get it on a rough 30-degree angle there, somewhere between 20 and 40 degrees, then as we look down the top of the inside of the cast, you can see how much posterior heel data we have. So the orthotic line will actually run up to there, and that arch is probably going to be somewhere between 20 and 30 millimeters. And then you'll see how deep the posterior data is there, and you can see how much it wraps up the lateral side of the foot. So the orthotic's going to come down under here. All that's going to be chopped off, and then most orthotics sitting between 6 and 15 degrees. Most of that is chopped off. So I might go through just taking a bad scan, and it's the only way you can really do it is to have the scanner too straight. So I'm just straightening it up, and then I'm going to pop it up. Okay, so I've just stopped sharing for a minute. So I've just straightened the scanner up like this. And then what you'll see is Michelle's forefoot is closest to the camera. So before, when it was down, so just to reiterate this, because it's fairly important in taking a good scan. We go back to this position here. When we're in neutral, the heel is closest to the camera, and that's where that angle comes from, and that's why we can see that data behind the heel. So if we go back to having the camera straighter, and I'm going to share my screen again, then I'll show you why the scan isn't that good. Okay. So now we're in a situation where Michelle's forefoot is closest to the camera, and we actually can't see underneath there. And if the camera can't see it, if we can't see it on that screen, then the scan is not going to pick it up. So I've got the 5-second delay on. Okay, so we've now got that red area in the forefoot, in the ball of the foot, and we end up with shallow data in the posterior heel. So you can see how that's really shallow, and it's just because the camera can't see it. So it's really important. We've gone from, we've got about a 60-degree change from where we were there. So the foot should appear dorsiflexed, and we create that angle by having the scanner sit low underneath the foot. So prone is really just the opposite of that. And I'm gonna do that now. So I'm gonna set the tripod up so that it's nice and high. Okay, so to set up to do a prone scan, you generally need the legs extended. And we need the camera angled down to the same angle that we're angling down towards the floor. So for people that prefer to do a prone cast, then this is the best setup. Okay. So same applies with the sock. You want the seam on the dorsal side. Can you just slide down, Michelle? And then we're angling down. So this angle is really important. Again, we don't want to have it too straight, otherwise we're going to have the same problem that I just showed you. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And most people will stand up when they're doing this. I'm just positioning the foot inside that red box again, but I also want to be fairly close, so I'm too far away. So again, we're still doing the left foot, so I'm going to go back. And so the 5-second delay is there. I'm going to take that off because I don't need it. And we've created a scan there. So again, red dots in the heel, we've got that 25 to 30 degree angle, nice deep posterior heel data. So that's really important. I'm just going to go back and show you what happens if you load the 4th and 5th. So if you don't want to do that suspension cast and you want to load the 4th and 5th, then we will end up with a finger mark just here. So you can see where my thumb is there. So just like a plaster cast, we'll fill that in or push it out. But our preference is for you to get into the sulcus, do your suspension cast, and then hit scan. So when you're looking at forefoot, rear foot relationship, you're best to look at it from the front, and you can see that the 1st and 5th are on the same line. Now I'll just create a bit of Michelle's foot's hard to do a valgus with, but I'll create a bit of a forefoot varus or supinatus just to show you that the scanner will pick that up. So that's the big toe there. So we've got a big forefoot supinatus. And then I might just create one, even though when we move on to the next image here, it's the right foot. I'm going to keep it as the left, and I'm going to try and create a forefoot valgus. Okay, so that's certainly not her neutral position, but that's the big toe there. When we spin this around, you can see that big forefoot valgus in through there. So it is sub 1 millimeter accurate. It will pick up prominent styloids, transverse arches, drops, metatarsals, even fibromas and things like that. If you've got something that you want to offload that isn't prominent, then you can just put a bit of felt underneath the sock, and that will pick it up and contour around that. Just make sure you reference it in the notes for lab staff, so that we know what that prominence is. Okay, so just to recap on that, probably the 2 most important things are having the angle on the scanner. Okay, so the 2 most important things are having this angle and being close to the foot, so without going outside that red box. And really, it is hard to go wrong unless you have something on the bottom of the sock like I did early on. So these black and white lines need to be clear, and that's why we generally recommend them as single use, so that they're nice and clean out of the bag. You can use them between patients, cross infections, up to you. They're not very expensive. They're $1.50. But yeah, if you do use them between patients, just keep them clean. Is that a question there, Michelle? Yeah, so you can mark the position of the plantar fascia again if it's not prominent during the scan. So if you've got a really prominent plantar fascia when you put the foot in neutral, then it will contour it and it will pick it up. Alternatively, you can put a little bit of felt to highlight it, which will contour around it as well. With other sort of unusual, might be a corn or something that you want to offload, or a fibroma, what people often do afterwards, sorry,
is take the sock off and then just photograph the plantar surface of the foot, maybe circle, take a marking. So the laser scanner that we've got does a full color 3D image, so you could draw a line down the plantar fascia and circle things, and the laser scanner will pick that up in true color. But for 99% of the orthotics, if not more, the topographical scan is more than enough, and you don't have the bulk and the expense of the laser scanners. But yes, just if it's not prominent, put a little bit of felt on top of it, and the sock will pick it up. Shoot us an email at hello@orthotech.com.au, and I'll get back to you if you think of anything afterwards. Michelle's going to go through just some basic troubleshooting, and then if you've got time, I'm going to take you for a tour into the 3D printers. They're printing at the moment, so I'll give you a look inside them and show you how it all works. And if you weren't in on our last webinar, I'll go through why there's a 4 to 5 day minimum time period for us to 3D print, and why if you need something express, we recommend that you use poly composite or EVA. So okay, so it's with the 2 camera images, which one should you use? So you need to use the one with the red box in it. So let me just share my screen again. Okay, so it's the bottom one here, so the one with the red box in it. So in order to create 3D, you need 2 cameras. So inside all the laser scanners, there's 2 cameras. With the iPad scanner, there's two cameras. If you've ever seen how they shoot a 3D movie, they shoot it with 2 cameras from either side. So we probably don't need to show you that one there, but the reason we do is to make sure both cameras are working. And Michelle will probably touch on that in troubleshooting. If they're high definition cameras and they can't actually be, you can't plug them into USB splitters. So they do need to run on their own USB source. So if you plug them into a USB splitter, only one camera would show up, which is, you're not going to get a 3D image. So the top cameras there is a bit of a safety net to make sure both your cameras are plugged in correctly and they're working. Okay, so all the laser scanners and podiatric scanners that I'm aware of do not run on Macs. It's a completely different development, and there just unfortunately aren't enough Mac users for the developers to warrant it. So Windows is still by far the most used software platform. In saying that, this scanner here will run off a really basic computer, so you don't need to spend a lot of money. You can get a relatively entry-level computer to run this scanner. This scanner at the moment is completely wireless, so the scanner's plugged into the computer and the computer's running off battery, so it doesn't draw a lot of power. The only way you can run it on a MacBook is to run Parallels, so your Windows Parallels or Boot Camp, which will load up in Windows on a MacBook. So you can run it on a MacBook, you've just got to install Windows. And that's often $400 to $600, so you can get a little laptop, Windows laptop for that. So yeah, you can run it on a Mac, you've just got to install Windows. So we do recommend that you bisect the calc if you're going to use the time delay, and that's just, you've got less chance of actually moving the foot. So if you're still playing around with neutral without a live image, you're not going to go outside that red box. What's more important is that we are directly in front of the leg. So we don't want to be setting it up so that we're looking down the medial side, otherwise we're going to miss all this data. We don't want to be sitting over here, otherwise we're going to miss medial calc, medial MLA. So as a general rule, we shouldn't really be able to see either malleolus, or if they're prominent, we should be able to see both. So if you've got a really inverted calc, then that's a time when you might just move it in front of the foot like that.
if the foot's really inverted. Otherwise, when we're in neutral, we want to be directly in front of the leg. But the green line doesn't need to be exactly there. So we'll get the same scan if we're here or if we're here. Oops. So it's more of a reference for the center of the screen, and we recommend getting the foot in line with that if we're using the time delay, just because you lose that live image. So yeah, that's another thing that's really important. If I'll go back and I'll take a scan from the medial side. So it's not too bad, but we've captured a lot more. Actually, that's not too bad, but we're not getting much of that lateral side there because we can't see it. So that'll be still enough there to make the orthotic. Likewise, if we're over on the lateral side here, we're just going to be a little bit shallow of the data on the medial side through here. So just make sure we're directly in front of the leg, like that, and then we're going to be able to capture medial and lateral. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll jump back to, thank you. We'll jump back to Michelle, she'll troubleshoot, and then I'll take you on a tour through the 3D printing. Okay, Michelle wants me to try and scan the other foot without a sock, so you'd be surprised how often that happens. So let's go back. And it's going to come up with an error in getting 3D points in system number 1. So yeah, you can't scan without the sock, and you may get that if the sock's on backwards with the seam down the middle. They're the 2 times that you'll generally see that error. Okay, so what this is a depth map. So it goes red, yellow, green, light blue, blue, red. So the more dorsiflexed you like the image is, the more contour lines you will have. And as you start to read it, you'll see how they change through there for that 4-foot varus or 4-foot supinatus. You'll see here the lines there's not as many lines. So the pink here, the pink there, and then they all repeat. And that's because it's on less of an angle. So that's almost parallel with the scanner, whereas that one's on a 25, 30 degree angle, so you're going to get more lines. So don't worry about the number of lines. In saying that, this image here is going to be better than that, because it means you're getting that 30 or 20 to 40 degree angle. Okay, I'll put you back to Michelle now.
Thank you, Kahlil. So firstly, we're just going to go through overcoming errors. So there are a few that Kahlil did mention, so I'll just confirm with those again. So the first one was picture is upside down. Now this is quite common, as you have a 50-50% chance of getting the picture the right way around or the wrong way around if you're just randomly plugging them into your laptop. So we do send with new scanners, we do send little stickers 1 and 2, so you can mark them which USB ports that you do place them in, or you can do that yourself as well. But what happens is, as you can see with the scanner, there are 2 different cameras placed in there and 2 different leads. So those 2 different leads connect to the cameras, the 2 different cameras. Therefore, if you swap them around, it will create an upside down image. Now that is a foolproof way of making sure that you are not taking a scan with those 2 cameras facing the wrong way, because when they're upside down, they are clearly facing the wrong way. So all you need to do is, as Kahlil showed you, press that exchange to camera button, and that will automatically change them around to allow you to start scanning. So it will let you scan if it is upside down, but we of course do not want you to do that, because it will not create a correct 3D image of the foot. The second one is if, sorry, my apologies, 1 or more camera windows are blank. So a very common when I do get a call when one of them is blank, and that is because of the USB points. So if you are using a hub at all, so a separate hub to the computer or laptop, that is splitting the USB into two, and it needs to be two completely separate USBs coming from the laptop or desktop computer itself. So with this, you need to make sure it's coming within the laptop or desktop, or it will not be showing you the two images. If you are doing it in the laptop or desktop and it is not still showing you two images, that could be because the two USBs that you're using are right next to each other. And Kahlil's just in the background having looking at the printers. That means that they might be right next to each other. Therefore, there's actually the computer itself is splitting those two USBs into two when it's only really one inside. So normally when that happens, you'll have one USB on one side and two USB ports on the other for a laptop, or you'll have multiple on a computer. And so we suggest connecting one on one side, one on the other for the laptop, because there will be two separate USB ports. And with that extra USB port, you can use that for a mouse or a keyboard or a USB. You can use it for anything. It's just the scanner itself does need those two separate ones. The error message, Kahlil's gone through this one. Please input patient's name in the orthotic report first. So we do see some people try and do a scan before putting in the patient's name and pressing save, or they minimize the actual script itself without putting any of the details in. So what I'm going to just quickly do is go and share on Kahlil's computer to show you what I mean. Now, if I was to, as Kahlil was saying before, just to press on that, it's going to ask you to put in the patient's name. Some people actually minimize this as well, so they'll just minimize it, and it's just down here. Some people will still write the name in and minimize it. That does not mean that it is done. It needs to be saved because the name here is blank. So the moment that I press save here, you see that that name is coming up through here. Therefore, that name is there, and we're able to take a scan. And then the last error message, which I've got Kahlil just to go through before in regards to not wearing the sock. So error in getting 3D data points. So the amount of phone calls that I get when someone says, oh, it's not working, this is the code. And I just ask, do you have a sock on the patient? And they hang up on me. So just making sure you do have the sock on the patient, starting with the left foot, of course, as well, as the software does come up with scanning left foot first. The other one is if the sock is the other way around, as Kahlil mentioned. So the line is on the plantar surface of the foot, not on the dorsal. And then also if that red box is very, very small, you need to make sure it is as big as that window as well. So they're the main errors, and they are all located on the educational website as well. So I'll just quickly show that to you here. So we go back here, you can see the troubleshooting. So you're able to see that we do have these written down here and the reasons why, and it will go through them for you. So it is really straightforward with that. And if you've got any questions, please start answering here, but I'll get Kahlil to do a little bit of a tour of the 3D print. And if you've got any questions in that time, just ask away and we can answer after, or I'm able to answer via email as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, I'm just going to take you on a quick tour in here. It's quite interesting if you haven't seen them before. If you're in last month's webinar, then you would have seen this. So we've got two 3D printers. I'll start in here and then we'll come back into the processing room. So it's a climate controlled room. So we've got to have it at a certain humidity and a certain temperature. So we've got air conditioning, we've got extraction fans. I'm yelling because it is a little bit loud in here. So these fans are pulling the heat out of the room. So both these machines are running tonight. They'll run until about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if you have a look in there, what we've got is the print head that's moving across now, laying down detailing agent and fusing agent. And then we've got a rolling head that rolls out a very fine layer of PA11. And then the print head goes back over again. So this is going to go back and forth for about 15 hours. And in this printer at the moment, we've got 119 orthotics being printed. So that's single orthotic. So 60 pairs. And we've got a similar number happening in this printer here. So this printer here, so this will finish at 8 AM tomorrow morning. And then this one here, which we started a little bit later, will finish at about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if you want to come over here, I'm going to show you so that one isn't laying down any fusing or detailing agent yet. It's just creating the bed of PA11 for things to be built onto. If you want to have a look at the computer screen here, so this is what a build looks like inside. So it's come a little bit closer. So you can see they're all stacked on top of one another there. And this is the first printer, so there's 119 parts. You can see there's a long Morton's extension, 13 BJ cutouts. All the CAD work's been done, and then these are digitally packed, and then they're printed. So if we come back into the other area, I'm just going to explain why it takes 4 to 5 days before we can start putting covers on the orthotic. So these two machines here are processing units. So this one overnight, we're about to fill it up, and we fill it up with a mixture of 30% fresh PA11 and 70% recycled. So we actually recycle all the material. So this is a build unit here. So this build unit here will wheel from these processing stations into the printers. Now, at the moment, this is full. This print came out this morning, and you'll see all the orthotics are still in there. So what we did this morning was we went through a fast cooling process with this here. So this machine here sucks cold air through the unit, because when this comes out of the printer, inside here is over 200 degrees Celsius. So it's a really fine powder, and the whole thing is packed tight, and the orthotics are in there. They can't move. So if we started to pull them out at 200 degrees, they'd melt and deform and change shape. So first of all, we go through a fast cooling process, which takes about 7 hours of sucking cold air through the material. Then we leave it like this overnight. There's actually a 24-hour cool down period, and then all of this is unpacked by hand. So after we've done all the CAD work, if you put an order in on a Monday afternoon, we'll do the CAD Monday afternoon, Tuesday. We'll get it into the printer Tuesday night. It'll print overnight on the Tuesday. Then it has to sit here for all of Wednesday, and we can start to unpack it on the Thursday morning. So an order that you place on a Monday or a Monday afternoon, we can't do anything with until Thursday. Now, Thursday, we are scrubbing these by hand. We're vacuuming out all the PA11, and then we end up with an orthotic that is silver in color and has some PA11 still stuck to it. So this then goes through a machine that actually sandblasts. So it's actually fine glass beads that blasts all the PA11 that's stuck onto it that we can't get off by hand. Then it needs to go through a dyeing process, and that takes a couple of hours to make it black, and then that needs to dry overnight. So if you order on a Monday, the earliest that we can start doing anything with it is going to be a Friday morning. Now, it's not really an issue, we've just got to factor it in, is that the printers run lots of really hot lamps, and they're running, for 15 hours straight. So probably once a week we will get a lamp blow. So most of the lamps are $500 or $600. They're not cheap. So one of those will blow, and if that blows mid-build, we've got to redo that whole build. So if that happens, on a Tuesday or Wednesday and your order's in there, it gets delayed another day. So best case scenario, if you order on a Monday, we can start to cover it on a Friday. But if it's in one of those builds that we blow a fusing lamp or something like that, it's going to be delayed until the following Monday. So that's why you'll get an automatic email back if you order an express 3D print to say we actually can't do it. And we won't change the material for you. It's up to you guys to say, all right, well, I want to change that to poly or composite or EVA. it will just be delayed a couple of days because we physically can't do it. If we take it out, it's going to deform, and we just can't send those products out the door. So that's the 3D printing process. Hopefully you found it interesting. I still think it's pretty cool, even though we've been doing this for 2 years. I'm still quite amazed with the technology. So any questions on the material we use for 3D printing, or the process, or the machines, or anything else while you've got me? Anything there, Michelle? No? Okay. So we are going to try, and we're bang on an hour now, and we're going to try and keep these webinars to an hour so that we can do them every month. You guys can get your CPD, and it's time efficient for you guys. You can go home and spend time with your family now. So thank you very much. If you've got any questions, hello@orthotech.com.au is the best email, or, you know, call the office or my mobile, Michelle's mobile, etc. So thank you very much. Enjoy your night. Take care.